I don't answer to you. I answer to God alone. Sister Catherine Mercer, 56 years old, stands at the defendant's table in full habit, black and white, rosary beads hanging from her waist, crucifix gleaming under courtroom lights. She's not looking at Judge Frank Caprio. She's staring past him, chin raised like he's beneath her notice. Judge Caprio sets down his pen. Sister Catherine, you're in a court of law. You will answer to this court. She smiles, not warmly, condescendingly, like a teacher correcting a slow student. Young man, I've devoted 40 years to God's service. I've taken vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience to the church, not to civil authority, certainly not to you. The courtroom goes silent. Even the court reporter's fingers freeze mid-keystroke. Judge Caprio removes his glasses slowly, deliberately. He folds them, places them on the bench. 10 seconds pass. 15. 20. Sister Catherine's smile falters slightly. Sister Catherine, I'm 78 years old. I've served on this bench for 38 years. You just called me young man while refusing to acknowledge this court's authority. Let me be very clear. Your vows don't grant you immunity from the law. Miss Lewis, read the charges. Court Clerk Deborah Lewis stands, voice steady but her eyes wide. Case 2024 CR 6382, State of Rhode Island versus Catherine Ann Mercer. Charges: embezzlement, wire fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, and racketeering. Sister Catherine's expression doesn't change. Serene, unmoved, like she's listening to weather reports. Subscribe if you believe religious vows should never excuse financial crimes against the elderly. Judge Caprio leans back. Sister Catherine, how do you plead? I invoke ecclesiastical privilege. These matters concern internal church finances and are outside your jurisdiction. They concern $4. 7 million stolen from elderly parishioners. That makes them very much my jurisdiction. I'll ask again, how do you plead? Sister Catherine sighs like he's wasting her time. Not guilty. This is a misunderstanding fueled by secular authorities who don't comprehend how religious institutions operate. Then let's educate this secular authority. Judge Caprio nods to the prosecution table. Miss Grant, enlighten me on how religious institutions operate. Assistant District Attorney Naomi Grant stands, holding a folder thick with bank records. Your Honor, the state calls FBI Special Agent David Kim, White Collar Crime Division. A man in his 40s approaches the stand, navy suit, FBI credentials visible on his belt, the careful demeanor of someone who's traced money through labyrinths. He's sworn in. Agent Kim, you investigated Sister Catherine Mercer. Yes. The investigation began 14 months ago when the daughter of Anna Kowalski, age 87, contacted us about suspicious withdrawals from her mother's account. Mrs. Kowalski lived at Sacred Heart Senior Living, a Catholic nursing facility operated by Sister Catherine. What did you discover? Agent Kim pulls out a document. We obtained warrants for financial records at Sacred Heart and Sister Catherine's personal accounts. We found a systematic pattern of theft spanning 7 years. Sister Catherine had convinced elderly residents to sign power of attorney documents, granting her control of their finances ostensibly for simplified estate planning. She then used that access to systematically drain their accounts. The courtroom murmurs. Sister Catherine examines her rosary beads like this doesn't concern her. How many victims? 43 elderly residents. Average age, 82. Total stolen, $4.7 million. Someone in the gallery gasps. Judge Caprio raises a hand. Silence. Walk me through the scheme. Sister Catherine would identify residents with substantial savings, typically $100,000 or more. She'd build trust through spiritual counseling, prayer sessions, and personal attention. Once trust was established, she'd suggest they sign power of attorney to simplify their affairs and ensure the church could help them if they became incapacitated. Agent Kim flips a page. Once she had control, she'd begin small withdrawals. $500 here, $1,000 there. Amounts the victims might not notice immediately. Over months, the withdrawals increased. She created fake invoices for facility improvements and medical expenses. She forged signatures on checks. She wired money to offshore accounts. She created a shell company called Sacred Charity Foundation and funneled millions through it. Where did the money go? Luxury vacations disguised as religious retreats. A villa in Tuscany purchased under the Shell Company. Designer clothing. We recovered $180,000 worth of high-end fashion in her private quarters. Jewelry. Art. A Mercedes-Benz registered to Sacred Charity Foundation. Sister Catherine lived like a millionaire, while her victims ate institutional food and wore donated clothing. Sister Catherine's jaw tightens slightly, but she remains silent. What happened when families started questioning the finances? Sister Catherine told them their loved ones had made generous donations to the church, and it was God's will. When families pressed harder, she claimed ecclesiastical privilege and threatened to ban them from visiting if they continued to disrespect sacred finances. Several families backed down, afraid of losing access to their elderly relatives. Naomi Grant picks up a stack of photographs. Agent Kim, what did you recover during the search of Sister Catherine's private residence? Her quarters at Sacred Heart were significantly larger and more luxurious than any residence room. We found designer handbags worth $45,000 total, shoes from Prada, Gucci, Louboutin, over $30,000 worth, high-end electronics, a wine collection valued at $28,000, and documents showing she'd purchased the Tuscan villa for $890,000 in cash. He holds up a photo. This is Sister Catherine's closet. These are Chanel suits. These are Hermes scarves. This is not a vow of poverty. The photograph is displayed on the courtroom screen. Rows of designer clothing, shelves of expensive shoes. Sister Catherine's humble quarters look like a luxury boutique. Sister Catherine's face flushes. Those were gifts. Sister Catherine, you're not to speak. Judge Caprio's voice is calm, but firm. Agent Kim, continue. We also found a journal where Sister Catherine documented her expenditures. In her own handwriting, she wrote, "The elderly are God's sheep. Shepherds are entitled to the flock's wool. I serve God, therefore their assets serve me." She viewed theft as theological entitlement. The courtroom is absolutely silent. Did any victims realize they'd been robbed? Most didn't. They trusted Sister Catherine completely. Many had dementia or cognitive decline. When they asked about their money, she told them they donated it to God's work and should feel blessed. Several died never knowing they'd been victimized. Their families discovered the theft only when settling estates. Naomi nods. Your Honor, the state would like to call Janet Kowalski, daughter of victim Anna Kowalski. A woman in her 60s approaches the stand, gray hair, exhausted eyes, hands shaking. She's sworn in. Mrs. Kowalski, tell us about your mother. Janet's voice trembles. My mother, Anna, is 87 years old. She worked as a seamstress for 60 years. Never made much money, but she saved every penny. When my father died 10 years ago, she had $340,000 in savings. She was so proud. She said it would pay for her care so she wouldn't burden me. She pauses, wipes her eyes. 3 years ago, she moved into Sacred Heart. Sister Catherine was so kind. She prayed with my mother daily. She called her one of God's special angels. My mother trusted her completely. When did you discover something was wrong? Last year I was helping my mother with bills. I asked to see her bank statements. She couldn't find them. She said Sister Catherine handled everything now. I contacted the bank. They said the account was nearly empty. $340,000 was gone. Everything my mother saved for 60 years, gone. Janet's voice breaks. I confronted Sister Catherine. She smiled at me. That same smile she's wearing now. She said my mother had donated her earthly wealth to heavenly purposes, and I should be grateful she's securing her mother's eternal soul. When I threatened to call police, she said if I caused trouble, my mother would be asked to leave the facility. I was terrified. Where else could she go? What's your mother's condition now? She has dementia. She doesn't understand the money is gone. She still thinks she has her savings. She still talks about paying for her care herself. I can't tell her the truth, it would destroy her. Sister Catherine stole her money and her dignity. Janet looks directly at Sister Catherine. You prayed with her. You held her hand. You called her special. And you robbed her blind. You're not a woman of God. You're a thief in a costume. Sister Catherine's serene expression cracks. Her nostrils flare. How dare you? Sit down! Judge Caprio's voice cracks through the courtroom. Sister Catherine, one more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. Sister Catherine sits, breathing hard, hands gripping her rosary. Judge Caprio turns to Janet. Mrs. Kowalski, Where is your mother living now? With me. I took her out of Sacred Heart as soon as I learned what happened. I'm caring for her myself. I had to quit my job. I'm using my retirement savings to pay for her medical care. Everything my mother saved to avoid burdening me. Sister Catherine stole it. Now I'm paying anyway, and my mother's life savings are funding designer handbags. Thank you for your courage, Mrs. Kowalski. Please sit. Janet returns to her seat, dabbing her eyes. Naomi Grant calls another witness. The state calls Dr. Philip Martinelli, forensic accountant. Dr. Martinelli takes the stand, 50s grey suit, carrying a laptop. I traced every dollar Sister Catherine stole. The scheme was sophisticated. She created false documentation that would pass cursory examination. She timed withdrawals to avoid triggering bank alerts. She distributed stolen funds across 17 accounts in 5 countries. Did she spend all $4.7 million? No. We've recovered approximately $2.1 million in seized assets and frozen accounts. The remaining $2.6 million was spent on luxury goods, travel and real estate. Much of it is irrecoverable. Can the victims be made whole? Not fully. Even with seized assets, restitution will cover less than half of what was stolen. Many victims died before we discovered the scheme. Their families will never recover what Sister Catherine took. Judge Caprio leans forward. Dr. Martinelli, in your expert opinion, was this impulsive theft or calculated fraud? Calculated. Sister Catherine maintained detailed records. She knew exactly what she was doing, who she was stealing from, and how to hide it. This wasn't opportunism. It was predatory, systematic financial abuse of vulnerable elders. Naomi Grant closes her folder. Your Honor, the evidence is clear. Sister Catherine Mercer used her religious position to gain trust, exploited legal authority through fraudulent power of attorney documents, and systematically looted the life savings of 43 elderly people. She lived in luxury while her victims went without, and when confronted, she claimed ecclesiastical privilege and threatened families with separation from their loved ones. Judge Caprio removes his glasses again, cleans them slowly. Sister Catherine, stand up. She stands, spine straight, chin raised, defiant even now. You told me you answer only to God. You invoked ecclesiastical privilege. You suggested this court lacks jurisdiction over your actions. Let me explain something about jurisdiction, Sister Catherine. When you steal from American citizens on American soil, you answer to American law. God may judge your soul. I judge your crimes. Sister Catherine's lips tremble, but she stays silent. Based on FBI evidence, forensic accounting, victim testimony, and your own documented journal entries, I find you guilty on all charges: embezzlement, wire fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, and racketeering. Her legs buckle slightly. She grabs the table. Sentencing: embezzlement of $4.7 million from vulnerable elders, 25 years federal prison. Wire fraud across state lines, 10 years consecutive. Elder abuse of 43 victims, 5 years per victim, served concurrently with embezzlement. Identity theft, 5 years consecutive. Racketeering through systematic fraud, 15 years consecutive. Total sentence, 55 years incarceration. The courtroom erupts. Judge Caprio raises his hand. Silence. You're 56 years old, Sister Catherine. You'll be 111 when you're eligible for release. You will die in prison. And before you claim religious persecution, understand this. You aren't being punished for your vows. You're being punished for breaking laws while hiding behind them. He picks up another document. Additionally, you will pay full restitution of $4.7 million to the victims and their families. All seized assets will be liquidated and distributed. Your religious order will be held civilly liable for failing to supervise your activities. And you will forfeit your right to any pension or benefits from the church. Sister Catherine is shaking now, rosary beads clicking in her trembling hands. I'm recommending to the Rhode Island General Assembly that financial abuse of elders in institutional care carry mandatory minimum 20-year sentences. I'm recommending that religious institutions be held criminally liable when employees commit financial crimes against residents. I'm recommending mandatory annual audits of all senior living facilities, regardless of religious affiliation, and I'm recommending that power of attorney granted in institutional settings require court oversight. Judge Caprio leans forward. These reforms will be called the Kowalski Elder Protection Act. Your crimes, your journal entry calling elderly victims sheep whose wool belongs to shepherds, your designer closet while victims ate institutional food, all of it will be cited in every legislative hearing. You thought your habit protected you. It doesn't. It just made your betrayal more disgusting. Sister Catherine collapses into her chair, sobbing. You told me you don't answer to me. You're right. You don't answer to me personally. You answer to Anna Kowalski, who saved for 60 years and trusted you with her life savings. You answer to the 42 other elders you robbed while praying over them. You answer to every person of genuine faith whose religion you've poisoned with your greed. His voice drops. And if there is a God, Sister Catherine, you'll eventually answer to him too. But first, you answer to the law. He closes the file. Bailiff, remand the defendant to custody immediately. Transport to Women's Division at ACI. She'll be transferred to federal custody within 72 hours. Two bailiffs approach. Sister Catherine looks up, desperate. Your Honor, I'm a woman of God. I took vows. The other inmates. You took vows of poverty while buying Hermes scarves. You took vows of service while stealing from the elderly. Your vows mean nothing. Judge Caprio's expression is granite. Take her away. The bailiffs guide Sister Catherine toward the door. Her habit rustles. Her rosary beads click. She passes Janet Kowalski. Janet doesn't look away. Sister Catherine drops her gaze first. The door closes. She's gone. If you believe religious institutions should be held liable when employees commit financial abuse, subscribe to Order in the Court. Judge Caprio turns to Janet Kowalski and the other victims' families in the gallery. What Sister Catherine did to your loved ones was evil masked as righteousness. She used prayer as a weapon and faith as a disguise. The law doesn't recognize ecclesiastical privilege when it comes to theft. Your mother's money will be partially recovered. It's not enough, but it's justice. Janet nods, unable to speak. 6 months later, Catherine Mercer sits in federal prison in Danbury, Connecticut. No habit, no rosary. Brown prison uniform. Her religious order expelled her and released a statement condemning her actions. The Tuscan villa was sold. The designer clothes auctioned. The Mercedes seized. Total recovery, $2. $3 million distributed among victims. Anna Kowalski received $190,000, just over half of what was stolen. It's not everything, but it pays for her care. She still has dementia. She still doesn't know she was robbed. Janet considers this a mercy. The other 42 victims or their estates received proportional restitution. Some families got closure, others got anger. None got everything back. 7 victims died during the investigation, never knowing they'd been robbed by someone they trusted. Judge Caprio's reforms passed unanimously. The Kowalski Elder Protection Act became law in November. Financial abuse of institutionalized elders now carries mandatory minimum 20-year sentences. Religious facilities must submit to annual independent audits. Power of attorney granted in care facilities requires court oversight. 15 states are reviewing similar legislation. Sister Catherine's journal entry, "The elderly are God's sheep. Shepherds are entitled to the flock's wool," is now used in elder abuse training for law enforcement nationwide. Her designer closet photos are shown to illustrate how financial predators live while victims suffer. Year 10. Catherine Mercer, now 66, has served 10 years of her 55-year sentence. She works in the prison library. She attends Catholic Mass led by volunteer chaplains who know exactly what she did. She sits in the back, alone. Her former religious order refuses all contact. She wrote letters to several victims. None were answered. Anna Kowalski died 3 years ago, still unaware she'd been robbed. Janet scattered her mother's ashes in the garden Anna loved, paid for with what little Sister Catherine hadn't stolen. The Kowalski Elder Protection Act has prevented an estimated $47 million in elder financial abuse across Rhode Island. Mandatory audits caught 3 other institutional schemes before they reached Sister Catherine's scale. Annual training helps families recognize warning signs. Judge Frank Caprio, now 88 years old and retired, occasionally reviews old case files. He pulls the Mercer folder sometimes. He reads her opening statement, "I don't answer to you, I answer to God alone." He reads his response, "You answer to Anna Kowalski, who saved for 60 years and trusted you. You answer to the 42 other elders you robbed while praying over them. Catherine Mercer believed her vows made her untouchable. She believed religious authority exempted her from secular law. She believed a habit and a rosary were enough disguise. She was wrong about everything. "I don't answer to you," she'd said, staring past him with contempt. She answered to him. She answered for 55 years. And she'll die answering for what she did to people who thought prayers and faith meant they were safe. Should all religious institutions be required to carry financial abuse insurance for their care facilities? Tell us below.